Everybody wants to walk through it now.
Alright, everybody, hit that like, we're going on soon. Yes. What's going on? Yes. Hello, everybody. All right. Yeah. Listen. Welcome to the show, everybody. Man, if you think my unshakable good mood messes with you guys sometimes, imagine how the maggots feel. I have never seen a group of sore winners in my life. I don't know. I mean, I've seen some dunking going on, short-lived, like, schoolyard bullshit where somebody will point at somebody after they dunked on them and, but it usually doesn't last very long because you're worried about the next play and all that kind of stuff. But I have never seen a situation where somebody has dunked on somebody or thought they dunked on somebody where it actually, the rim was tipped slightly and it was a layup that got knocked in accidentally off a piece of snot that was on the rim and just managed to work them in there where they seem to think they dunked anyways, where they dunk after and go, God damn it, how come I can never win, right? It's pretty amazing. So I have been, because everything about my job except doing it sucks. That's hard. It doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean. By the way, hi, chat room. Welcome. Hello. What I mean is that all the study and reading and stuff that I have to do to keep up with kind of what's going on, especially in this chaotic shitstorm that's going on, kind of blows. It's aggravating. But I gotta say, I'm not. Even then, I'm just kind of like, I'm more like in eye roll mode. If that makes sense. And I'll show you what I mean. So, yeah, let's go with, it's not exhausting, Patui. Don't let him exhaust you. It isn't. Breathe deep and understand that they're exhausted. And I'll show you what I mean. Let me show you something. This is an actual hearing of the House committee that I think Jim Jordan is chairing, and the co-chair is jacketless jackoff over here. Who, by the way, anybody who's shitting on Fetterman for not coming to work in a suit has Jim Jordan to blame. He'll show. I guarantee Fetterman will start wearing a suit when Jim Jordan puts on a jacket. I don't want to hear shit. Anyways, point is, they're holding a hearing on right-sizing the government, which is basically them just running interference for Elon Musk. But I would like you to hear how somehow they seem to be under the illusion on a lot of these panels that the $7 trillion U.S. governmental expenditure balance sheet, which is shockingly only like $1.5 trillion under, considering the enormous amount of money. That means they're bringing in 5.5 all the time, which is kind of fucking amazing. And by the way, when I'm president, I'll fix that for you without, needing to pull the rug out from under poor people. Anyways, that most of them are just running interference for him. But I would like you to hear these folks kind of defending the kind of scattershot bullshit approach of Doge and the Doge bags. That works. Doge bags. Yeah? Okay, that works. Well, you'll hear it. I forget who he talking to, because they're talking about, I think this might be during the hearing on telework, where they're in a fucking panic. But I pointed out yesterday how the USAID budget is like $40 billion worldwide and all the stuff that it does. And they've managed to find about 88 million with an M dollars worth of stuff they don't like. Doesn't mean it's bad, doesn't mean it's wrong, but they politically are against it or get outraged by it, okay? And clearly, sorry, are you guys not hearing me? You guys, audio seems to be okay on my end. Yeah. Well, we'll see. Listen to what they're saying and see if this sounds like winning to you.
Recognized as the chairman of the House Judiciary Committee for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Schatz, is the federal government too big?
Yes, the expenditures certainly are, which makes the entity itself too big.
$7 trillion.
No, that doesn't. No, it isn't. No, it doesn't. Not automatically. This is a personal bias, period, end of story. No. It does what it's supposed to do. You can say it spends money on stuff you don't like, but fuck you. It's your opinion. And the amount of money it spends versus the size of our economy is pretty goddamn reasonable. If you talk about, like, if you looked at the country like a company like these assholes like to do, that the managerial aspect of it would be $7 trillion or so in a $27 trillion business, it's completely reasonable for the overhead.
In annual spending, 400 agencies and sub-agencies, 1,000 boards and commissions.
Geez, it's almost as if America is the singular most powerful country on earth and the richest at the same time. And maybe managing that actually takes people. Because let's be abundantly clear. What are these assholes arguing? They want to automate the government. And you think they're going to stop at government jobs? You think that? You think they're not going to automate your job as well? You don't think they think you're a useless eater that can be replaced? Because I got news for you, red states. No matter what story these guys are telling, they consider you a fucking drag.
I think anyone, maybe even the people on the other side of the aisle, I think anyone would say, almost everyone would say, that's too big.
Why? What's your standard for too big? Big is true. Too big? Make your fucking case. Pick out one of those commissions and tell me how much it costs and what a big fucking drag it is. And don't bring up something that's $12 million in a $7 trillion expenditure year. Don't give me fucking 12 million. I got proof that it's a waste of time because this one thing that I don't like politically costs anything, right? That's not an answer. That's not too big. Too big means somewhere between 40 and 50% of it is unnecessary, and you can fucking prove it.
And when you have big government, does big government have a tendency to spend taxpayer money on stupid things?
Automatically? No.
That's part of the reason that we're here, and it's one of the things that Citizens Against Government Waste has been documenting for many, many years.
You've been highlighting.
So you make a living pretending the government is too big and trying to cut programs you don't like by pretending that's what the overreach is. The overreach is never the programs you like. The overreach is the programs that you're politically against. I see. And so you make your job, your whole fucking job is based on the idea that government is too big and spends too much money, and you know exactly where and how. And that's, if it stopped, your job would go away. Cool.
This for like 100 years. I mean, I've known you for a long time.
Yes, you guys have been selling the same shit for decades.
God bless you for persisting.
Organization, 41 years. I've
Yeah.
been there 39.
And when you spend money, when you're the person spending money on something stupid, you just assume, you would just kind of hope that people don't really notice that, right?
Oh, you mean like all of Comer's hearings that were a fucking wash? How about all of your hearings that were a waste of fucking time? While you were not crafting bills or shaping policy to help your constituents, you were just chasing down their perceived enemies, and that was enough.
If you're in the government and you're spending, what did Miss Boebert just say, 32.
Let me guess, same shit everybody else says?
2,000 for a transgender comic in Peru, 16 million in gender development office. You're spending money on stuff.
Yeah, $60 million here, $32,000 on one particular thing. And instead of doing your fucking job and making the case why it should be pared back, you do a blanket kill order on all federal funding that will starve people and harm people and stop medical care so that you can attack whatever 1% of a single agency's budget. You grind to a halt all the stuff that's helping other people because Christianity.
Like that, you just kind of hope that people probably don't notice that. Is that probably fair to say? That's kind of human nature, I would think.
Well, that's part.
I don't know. What does hope have to do with it? You're on the committees. Republicans have had the House. They couldn't spot these things over the years, or were they okay with them? Because I'm going to guess, hold on one second. Since she's quoting her, should we do it out of order? Which one? Let's see. Because I think, hold on, chat room. I'm pretty sure I saw Boebert's remarks as well as a separate video in this same thing. Now, again, I want to remind everybody, why is this important? Because these people allegedly won. These people are allegedly in a position of power. And by the way, I have a video coming up in a little bit that is probably going to set your hair on fire. Just be forewarned. Is a trigger warning. It's, yeah. Yeah, but it's worth it near the end. So I'll show you. Okay, anyways, back to here. This is Boebert stuff. Where were our best public employees at the Wuhan lab of virology? That's her thing. Lauren Boebert grills witness.
Boebert from Colorado.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The outrage here has been absolutely unhinged. As we
Outrageous? I would just have said outrageous. Also, by the way, outrage, it should be unhinged. I mean, it's rage. It's out. Very few hinges on that door.
seen in the media, we're seeing Politico, who's laying folks off, and as they're being defunded of American tax dollars, they can no longer sustain themselves. And so the outrage is just going to continue from those who are no longer going to be able to support their businesses.
Also, as far as I know, yeah, let's check. See if is Politico still online. Let's see, Politico. Was there and probably civilian value in offenses. Trump continues federal purge, gutting cyber workers who combat disinformation. Musk asks Doge staffer who resigned following racist social media posts will be back. Oh, says they will be back. Yeah, they're still there. Still a site. Still there. Story has how Tucker Carlson's nicotine pouch became the latest front in the culture war. What a they're using it as a nootropic. God damn, I hate when the news is like a month behind.
From American taxpayers, and we simply want accountability. We want...
Yeah, guys, hey, that's all she wants. She just wants accountability.
Oversight.
That's why she wants the Doge guys to remain secret and no FOIA requests about any of their communications. Right?
Oversight Committee. And unfortunately, Congress has done a crap job of oversight and accountability over...
Since you've been there?
Quite some time, I would say decades. And that is why we have this new commission that is created. And Americans are grateful.
It's a commission. Well, I appreciate she points out that it's not actually a department.
grateful for it. President Trump campaigned on.
So it's Koch. She's going with Koch. Excellent. I've clearly gotten through to some of these assholes.
Having this Doge commission to have oversight and accountability.
Listen to that Doge commission. It's interesting. She's hammering the point that it is not a department.
And it is our responsibility to codify what happens. I am pleased with
You mean codify?
the expedited efforts that have taken place to really get this out in the open and expose to the American people what their money is actually being sent to. And
Great. So of the $40 billion, the American people will be shocked at the enormity of the mismanagement and fraud. 60, 40, 80% of USAID.
and let's just
Oh, no, just 1% that you could have found out on your fucking own with like a few phone calls?
be honest with the American people.
Why start now?
Unelected bureaucrats have been
Oh, you mean like the Doge Commission?
funneling their hard-earned taxpayer dollars to ridiculous and even malicious causes.
Right, yeah, Doge. That's what we're complaining about. Those are unelected bureaucrats funneling money and intel, which is worth more than money in some cases, towards their own purposes.
Doge is doing the hard work to uncover the truth and make our government.
If that's the case, then why is the guy sitting in front of you aware of all the programs they have pointed out? You know that guy I just showed you, the dickhead that Jim Jordan is talking to? Hold on. Where is he? This guy? See this guy from the, we fucking hate big government, .org? .org, listen to me. Like it's nonprofit. This guy, he's known about all these programs for a long time. There's nothing new. They haven't found anything new. They've always been against this kind of stuff. They just don't like it. And again, it's graft if you don't like the program.
Government work for the people rather than funding policies that are actively hurting them. For example,
I'm not quite sure how condoms in Lebanon actively hurt me, but I'm all ears, weirdo.
Dr. Rush, in your testimony, you state that the recommendations from the Department of Government Efficiency will exacerbate public health crises. How is that the case when Doge is advocating to defund EcoHealth Alliance?
Defund EcoHealth Alliance? That happened last year. Maybe that's why. No, get out of here. Yeah, hold on. HHS bans EcoHealth Alliance and Groups Express from receiving federal funds for 5 years after Wuhan virus experiment. Hold on one second. That's the doubling down. Hold on one second. EcoHealth Alliance. Because Trump is signing all these executive orders for shit that's already been done. HHS 2024. That'll do it. Okay. Yeah, here it is. Get out of here. U.S. government suspends funding for virus research group at center of COVID-19 origin controversy. Whoops. Why are you pages move out of the way? There you go. May 16th, 2024. That's Peter Balzac, the dude from EcoHealth. They suck. This is dumb. Wolf in sheep's clothing for a long time. HHS Office of the Inspector General report last year, 2023, found that despite potential risk for research performed throughout the EcoHealth grant, the group was late to report information and the NIH failed to follow up. EcoHealth Alliance has said it was unable to access the NIH reporting system because of technical problems, but in a new HHS action memo, that's from the Biden administration, it says a forensic report found the group was never locked out of the system. They were full of shit. And so I guess Thanks, Joe Biden.
which was involved in the research in the Wuhan lab that created coronavirus, that created this global pandemic.
No. It created, the idea is that it might have taken part in COVID-19. Coronavirus is any type of virus, often the kind that lodges in your sinuses, that has a little crown-like thing on its cells that makes it look like, under a microscope, it looks like a little crown. Corona. So it looks like the sun around a... never mind. Look who I'm talking to, Mrs. SATs.
That killed people and ended the livelihoods of many others.
My statement was in reference to across-the-board firings without specific
I think government employees have been given the option. They can have an...
And those that will be given the option will be more competitive on a private market basis than those that stay.
So
then you'll be losing your best public employees.
were our best public employees at the Wuhan lab of virology? Were those our best?
Jesus Christ. We didn't have anybody there, dummy, nor would we.
Best employees? Was that where our funding was going, to the best and the brightest who started a global
I'm saying when
pandemic?
you make a 20% across the cut without any
I think there's been a lot of
discrimination
inefficiencies, and I'm excited
Yeah, that's your concern, is inefficiencies.
to see.
You know what? She's right. You know what? I can't be completely critical of Boobala here, because I mean, she has a tendency to fondle the truth, massage it. She tends to give the truth a reach around, often in public, as we can see. But I don't want to fault her when she's on the money. I would agree that in government, there are a lot of inefficiencies, things that could be remedied quickly. For example, her staff. Everybody who works for her, in her office, anybody around her who could have just looked up that the EcoHealth Alliance got their funding cut last year after a 2-year investigation so that it would hold up and they couldn't just sue to get their contract back because somebody glanced at them or heard something on the internet and dropped it, so they wouldn't win more money than they would have gotten in the first place. They did a full investigation, found that they, that they were in the wrong, and then cut off their funding last year when Joe Biden was president. Last year when Joe Biden was president, EcoHealth Alliance lost its funding under HHS, not under USAID, where it was receiving some funding mid-Trump term one.
Where this goes and the exposure of that. And Dr. Rath.
I wouldn't, I gotta say, I wouldn't bring up exposure. I wouldn't use that word if I were you. Like, you and Matt Gaetz probably shouldn't, maybe, and Rudy Giuliani. All three of you don't use the phrase exposed, exposure, exposing. Just leave that aside.
Last administration weaponized NGOs to aid and abet illegal aliens across and within the interior of the United States. We saw millions of taxpayer dollars being funneled to NGOs that were spent on plane and bus tickets, hotel rooms, and even to coach illegal aliens on how to illegally stay in the country. Heck, we have a congresswoman.
By the way, she means people who are who have asylum claims and might not understand how to articulate it because English isn't their first language and they're in a desperate situation. So they go, okay, explain to me where you are and what your system is. I believe you. Here's how you can communicate what you want. I mean, it's too fucking humanitarian for her, understand, but.
Who is currently coaching illegal aliens on how to stay in the country, what terms to use, even if they are untruthful. Now,
yeah, just say MAGA, yeehaw. I think that's what she's teaching her to say. I don't like no trans people in my shitter, that kind of thing. They're being taught phrases like that, stuff that will lead this administration to allow them to stay in the country.
Now, Dr. Resch, how does transporting millions of unvetted illegal aliens into our country make America safer? And how does stopping the funding of those NGOs harm America?
Stop the funding. So, both two wrongs making a right there. I think you have to establish that your premise is actually real. It's actually a real premise. I mean, instead of you're just making something up that they're just taking, that they're going down there and going, you look scary. Hey, you with the forehead tattoo, get on the bus.
That is tangential and irrelevant to my.
Oh, it is not irrelevant.
Yeah, it is. He's there to talk about the federal workforce, dipshit. That's literally what this hearing is about. Largely like telework and whether you could fire people in general, cutting 20% of the workforce. That's what this hearing is about. The right sizing of government. And she's like, does that make a lot of sense? They're not being hired in to be federal employees, you weirdo.
Let's go through the list of relevancy, shall we?
Yes, please.
We have open borders allowing millions of illegal aliens coming into our country unvetted. Then the relevancy is in terms of Laken Riley, Jocelyn.
You're talking to basically HR, dipshit.
Nungary, Rachel Morin, Ruby Garcia.
Yes, the names we keep hearing over and over and over again, which, again, if it was as big a problem as you said it would, you wouldn't even repeat the same name twice.
Lisbeth Medina, and I could go on and on and on and on.
No, you can't. You just ran out. You can't go on and on. That's where your sheet ends. You're taking the tragedy of what happened to these people and you're painting immigrants into the country with a broad brush because you're a fucking moron. And you're yelling at the wrong dude.
With the American citizens who were killed at the hands of illegal aliens. So I think it's pretty relevant to say we need to look into these NGOs and what they are doing with these unvetted illegal aliens coming into our country. And
yeah, I mean, you would need more people reviewing grants and stuff like that, not less. Right? If you just cut 20% of the workforce because people are like, I'll take the buyout, that means, like he was saying, that you can, the kind of people who would take a buyout are either ready to retire, which is partly what they're thinking of this, or they know they can get a private sector job. They're very wanted. They've had offers. And so they take the money from the federal government and go get a private sector job. And everybody who can't do that is left behind to pick up the pieces because they're not the highest qualified in that circumstance. You're just effectively scooping the best off the top. But hey, maybe you're giving everybody underneath them a chance at a meritocratic climb.
Remaining into our country. Would you agree? Does that bring some relevancy to the topic, sir?
Not
No.
to workforce cuts across the American public service.
Well, but we're also
Right. Yeah. What the fuck does that have to do with me? Excuse me, HR lady. I know we're here to talk about how many new secretaries and we need to hire 2 accountants and maybe we need to cut somebody from staff in the warehouse and stuff like that. But I want to talk about who's keying our cars in the parking lot. Jesus. Like, this is, every word out of her mouth is a waste of taxpayer dollars.
also talking about the funding that is going out. We are cutting spending at
Yeah, but not what? The NGOs are secondary. They're not even employees, dumbass. The NGOs get grants or something. If you want to go through that, get on a different goddamn committee, stupid.
an executive level. And I hope that we codify all of that
Codify. You actually said it right, and then you corrected yourself.
here within these chambers to ensure that it does.
I love her grandiose language, don't you? Here, within these chambers, wherein these hallowed halls,
Doesn't go out again.
where we shall codify shit that has nothing to do with the actual committee I'm on. I wanted a different committee, but here I am talking to you.
Now, in your testimony, you also mentioned that DOGE proposals reflect an agenda to dismantle professional government. According to you, this is fundamentally at odds with the principles of democratic governance. In November, President Trump won by a decisive mandate.
No, 75 to 78, there's no mandate there. It's pretty evenly split. Still in the realm of jump ball. The House is 1 vote, dummy. If you, God forbid, get sick or quit, there might even be a Republican out there that would switch sides if they could handle the death threats and give power to the Democrats. So simmer the fuck down with your, like, we own this joint.
To maximize governmental efficiency and productivity. And how
Productivity as opposed to the anti-ductivity.
are actions, these actions fulfilling the president's campaign promises fundamentally at odds with the principles of democratic governance? And while my time is running out, I want you to answer that, sir. But we hear about unelected folks. Democrats didn't even get a chance to vote for their own presidential candidate in their primary. So,
Well, no, she was the sitting vice president, though.
don't talk to me about unelected people actually being involved
Thank you, Tobias.
in the decisions in this country. But I would like to hear how that's at odds.
I would, though, because Elon Musk didn't get any votes in any primary ever. Matter of fact, he can't run for president. So he's decided to shove his apartheid fist up Trump's dopey ass and operate him like a fucking speak and spell from the inside.
Sir.
I have no response to that.
Well, that's
Yeah, waste of fucking time. Here's also, I have no response to that terrible answer. Here's what you say next time, trying to help you out. I think you're asking questions on the wrong committee. That's not my job at all. And I don't do other people's jobs. Maybe ask them?
kind of
Chairman, the gentlelady.
I yield. Thank you.
I yield. I didn't really have anything to say in the first place. I don't even know. Jesus. I mean, you can just also go, I wish your questions were for me and what I do for a living. Are you sure you're in the? I think that. Are you sure you're in the right room, ma'am? This is about the actual federal workforce. You understand? Maybe I could talk to you like the decider. Shit. Okay, so that gives you something. Again, these are the people that are supposedly have won by a large margin. And speaking of large margin, we'll get to her in a moment. But listen again to Jim Jordan for a second.
Is that the taxpayers don't know exactly how the money is being spent because there is not the transparency that, for example, Iowa, Ohio, Arizona, and other states have.
And
And you should be able to push a button and find out how your tax dollars are being.
And so it's understandable.
Again, do any of these motherfuckers, you can say that there's missing data or you need more data or it's not clear enough or I don't understand how website menus fucking work because I'm a douchebag or I intentionally don't go to this site because it would fuck up my job. Yes, I can, George. Hi. It's right there. Start searching awards. There you go. Hold on. Recipient filter. It's currently a bug affecting the recipient filter feature of our service. We appreciate your understanding. You think they're cutting it so we can't look? Let's see. Filters. Let's see what's in there. Learn which data elements are associated with certain custom to fiscal years. You can go by fiscal year 2024, award type, contracts, IDVs, grants, direct payments, loans. Let's go to direct payments, shall we? And what agency? I'll leave it open. Maybe it'll just be all Treasury account symbol. It has a TAS component to it. You can look it up by that. You can look it up by recipient. Who gets it? Let's see. There's Alabama Medicaid Agency. How about they? What do they get? The Texas Department of Agriculture, the federal funds they get. The Arizona Healthcare Cost Containment System. 2 of those in there. Atlantic Diving Supply Incorporated. Apparently they get a payout. A couple of them. Bakery and Confectionery Union and Industry International Pension Fund, because they probably have bonds and shit like that. Climate United Fund, the Coalition for Green Capital. Like, this is what they hate, by the way. Commonwealth of Virginia Department, Compagnie de Développement de l'Eau USA, the French Water Department, I don't know, we're funding Perrier. Consolidated Nuclear Security LLC. There they are. There's all the recipients. You want to look it up? You want to look up? There's all the recipients, kids. I wish there was a button where I could look up what people are getting. Do you think you're going to get to see the I don't know, top secret shit, you dipshits? Okay, recipient type. How about this? General businesses, minority-owned businesses. Who's getting that? And by the way, you bet your ass they clicked on this one and went, fuck that. And they clicked all of these and went, how are we funding these minority-owned businesses? It's a waste of time. Women-owned business, veteran-owned business, special designations, nonprofits. So they go through the NGOs and they go, okay, nonprofits. Okay, there we go. What's getting federal award amount, award ID, assistant listing, disaster emergency fund code in case it was during all this stuff. Yeah, it's all fucking super high. I wish there was, there is a button, submit. There we go. Click here to search award. Okay, here we go. Prime Awards. There we go. Here they are, ladies and gentlemen. And how much? UT Bethel LLC Research Triangle Institute, $772 million. General Hospital Incorporation. Wow, there's a lot of General Hospital fans in the government. The Broad Institute. Congratulations, lady. You made the top of the list. National Collegiate Inventors and Innovators Alliance. This is about innovation stuff. Poca Lambro Telephone Cooperative, $110 million. Vanderbilt University Medical Center, Advanced Technology International. And here's all these. There they are. So you're telling me these guys scrolled through all these and went, nah, that's fine. Henry Ford Health System, we like that. Wabash Telephone, the Wabash Cannonball. All right, okay. Dignity Health. Sinclair Community College. Another one there. Okay. Tennessee Technological University. Clemson University. There you go. There's all the NGOs and private things under my list that were, hold on one second. And there are 98 pages of these. There you go. The results in these. Department of Education is a large portion of those because it's going to universities. $594 million. Department of Health and Human Services following up because the rest are hospitals with 536. Housing and Urban Development, 153. Federal Communication Commission, 152, making sure there's phone lines out in the fucking Appalachia. That's what we're talking about. Department of Agriculture, these are, the 135.8 million just through this, okay. Department of Defense, 7.7 million. It's because they get direct funding on most of their stuff. Credit Union Administration, Millennium College Corporation, Agency for International Development, 100. Look at this shit. Fuck me. All right. Hey, in the list of all these things, at the very bottom, this is last year, by the way, this is 2024. At the fucking bottom is the USAID. It gets $100,000 from these general category, the awarding agency gave out $100,000. That's because the Congress actually allocates a lot of the USAID stuff. They just direct it. Results by month. Here's the expenditures. Boy, January obligations are very high because you start the year off. September, obviously, because they bought me a big birthday present. Hey, look at this. Results by category. Look at this. Place of performance. Results by geography. States and territories. Show on the map. Total spending. Wow, look at North Carolina. More than $233 million to North Carolina. How about there's Massachusetts? There you go. What are you doing? And then Illinois, Texas, California, a little darker. 163 for the NGOs there. What the fuck is going on in North Carolina? $233 million? Some shit going on down there. So, yeah, it's usaspending.gov. You don't have to give fucking, like, free passwords for fucking, you know, the inside of the Treasury. And no, you can't see it all, Gail, but you can see the vast majority of it. You can certainly see any of the stuff they have a problem with. And all this, like, Hamas-linked shit means anything related to a Palestinian anywhere. Jesus Christ. I mean, the Ayatollah of Iran's a Muslim, and we gave one to a Muslim charity in Michigan. Therefore, it's an Iran-linked thing. Get the fuck out of here. The point is, usaspending.gov. Always been there, always has. And in certain departments where some of the stuff is opaque, it is this much of the shit that goes out the door compared to the rest of it. And it is up to it's the responsibility of the Congress, specifically the House Republicans, because they've been in charge of this and they bitch about it the most, to go through with a fine-tooth comb and needle this shit out instead of shutting down food aid and hospital aid in the United States and university education money and just so that they can, like, get rid of 1% of it. Here's how you know it's an official U.S. government website. There you go. Okay, so you guys get my point. Now,
Why everyone on the left.
Not the transparency that, for example, Iowa, Ohio, Arizona, and other states have.
And
And
when
you should be able to push a button and find out how your tax dollars are being.
And so it's understandable why everyone on the left, all the proponents of big government, all the supporters of big government, all the people getting the taxpayer money from big government, it's understandable why they are attacking Elon Musk, because he's pointing out the stupid things that government spends money on. Is that fair to say?
Well, he's
No.
not making it up, and in fact, many of the recommendations he's making
Great
have been
point.
made
He's
for
not
years.
making it up. He's citing.
whoa. Shut the fuck up, Jim Jordan. I want you guys to hear that. This is super important. This is super important because the idea is without this access to these programs and his little douchebag, Doge douches, the Doge bags getting in there, we wouldn't even know about this stuff. Oh my God, thank God Elon Musk's around or we wouldn't have found out about this. And listen to what this fucking guy says. Jordan talks over it, but listen. Hold on.
Well, he's not making it up, and in fact, many of the recommendations he's making
Great
have been
point.
made
He's
for
not
years.
making it up.
Many of the recommendations he's making have been made for years. That's because all of this stuff has been available on websites in a myriad of different outlets, both through the USAID, but also the groups that get them, because they get a little like, thanks to USAID, we blah, 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 is often on the websites of all these secondary programs. Good Lord.
Citing every single thing.
Right.
Go on, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's there. I mean, look, the Department of Education has been something that was recommended by President Reagan to be eliminated, and
Yeah, because they love the poorly educated.
many others since then. U.S. Digital Service, U.S. Doge Service. Digital Service was duplicating the private sector. Same with 18F at GSA. So he's already helped save money by doing that.
Oh, say that again? Hold on.
And many others since then. U.S. Digital Service, U.S. Doge Service. Digital Service was duplicating the
U.S. Digital Service. That's that's this. U.S. Digital Service. We're solving big problems using design and technology to deliver better services to the American people. Millions of people use federal government services every day. Too often, outdated tools and complex systems make these interactions cumbersome and frustrating. To improve these services, USDS hires mission-driven professionals into term-limited tours of civic service. By working alongside civil servants, they help address some of the most critical needs. And basically, that's the problem. They don't want people being able to access it better.
Private sector, same with 18F at GSA. So he's already helped save money by doing that.
So Democrats, instead of saying, yeah, we should probably not spend $32,000 for a transgender comic in Peru, yeah.
Again, $7 trillion federal budget, $40 billion just for USAID, $32,000. Again, you want to get rid of that stuff? Make your fucking case. Do it in your goddamn committee. But you don't shut down huge chunks of the government that are actually helping people who need food because you have a problem with it, especially when your entire life has been spent looking the other way when people are in desperate situations.
That's probably not a wise expenditure of taxpayer money to have Sesame Street played in Baghdad, Iraq.
Right. So they keep saying the Sesame Street and Baghdad thing.
It's on all that list. Instead of saying we should figure out how we stop that, they're saying no. We got to stop the guy who's pointing out.
No. Do you guys hear anybody upset about the little programs that they're yelling about? I mean, it shows their bigotry, obviously, but that's not what people are clamoring about. Everybody's just pissed. He's got access to their fucking Social Security information. Stupid. And again, legally, how is the government at this point going forward able to prosecute anybody on any of the fronts where he's had access? Because all they have to do is say, Your Honor, they put that in there. I didn't do that. They changed the records to fuck with me. They backdated all this stuff. Even if it's not true, you can't prove it because unvetted people had unfettered access, and it now becomes unprovable.
The stupid things that government's spending money, taxpayer money, the money that people in the 4th district that I represent, their money on these kind of stupid things.
One moment, please. Let's see. Let's see. Congressional District, the median age is 40. It's at a 1.47% one-year decrease. The population, 787,372, more than Wyoming. Also, no. Jim Jordan represents this. Median property value, 191,000. Median household income, 73. That's on the upper end of the average. Poverty rate, 10%. 14% one-year decrease. Thanks, Joe Biden. Let's see. Economy. Let's look at the economy. Economy, congressional employees, 377,000 people. Largest industries in Congressional District 4 are manufacturing, 75,000. Healthcare and social assistance, 54,000. That sounds like government to me, largely, and government services. The social assistance part. Retail trade, 39,000. That's shops and stuff, 39.4. The highest paying industries are management of companies and enterprises. That's the CEO of smaller companies. Finance and insurance, 81,000. Utility, 79,000. Management occupations are the biggest group, and production occupations are 10%. 10% here. 2022 value, 77K. Occupations, 12% growth, down 154% one year. From 2021 to 2022, employment in Congressional District 4, Ohio, grew at a rate of 12.4% from 336 to 377. Thanks, Joe Biden. The most common job groups, blah, blah, blah. Unemployment insurance claims, there's their dashboard. There's 2020, PAPOW, and then Illinois, Ohio, that's the overall, okay? Employment by industries in this area, we already saw that. Median earnings, 55 for men, 35 for women. Agriculture, forestry, education services, health insurance, and real estate are the and heavily gendered towards male, and I guess it's a weird collection of shit. Employment by industry sector, 1.48% overall growth. You're doing a bang up job there, Jim. Almost 1.5% growth behind the rest of the country, which is like 3. Civics, there you go. It went Republican, but it's not 100%. Look at this. It's been flopping all over the place. And, yep, anytime Democrats start making some headway against Republicans, look who shows up. Fucking independents. There's a Ross Perot voter fucking up the things and giving it to, all right. Yeah, this is, I think ultimately, I want to say, well, I don't know, Clinton, did Clinton win the Ohio both times? It's by House, Joe Jorgensen, Biden 45, and the presidential voter over time. There's J.D. Vance. He's been there since 2008. Yeah, so, I don't see it. I don't see how his taxpayers are footing the bill for this shit. Unless that one transgender operation was the entirety of their tax liability in the district.
Now it's being reported that there's something even maybe worse going on.
Uh-oh.
It's been
Let
reported
me guess, Politico?
today that media outlets were paid millions of dollars by USAID. Now,
Oh, I'm sorry, the government doesn't get free subscriptions to services that they use? You're about to hear some really stupid shit.
media outlets are saying this is for subscriptions to their publication, but I find that interesting. And one of the particulars that's pointed out, the FDA paid Politico $517,000 for 37 subscriptions.
Okay. Gather in, kids. Who thinks that 37 subscriptions for Politico, somebody wrote a check and nobody cared to look for 37 regular order personal subscriptions to Politico, got them $500,000? Or perhaps subscriptions for giant organizations, you get a group subscription that's part of the services you're providing because they need to be aware of a myriad of different things throughout all their departments. Right? 37 bulk subscriptions. Now, does it sound like this guy is being honest about 37 subscriptions? Yes, that's Politico Pro, and it's group. If you get a subscription for a union, so all union members for free as part of their union work get a subscription to AARP, I don't know, the magazine for it. Is that one subscription that costs, that you could buy on the open market for $21 a year? Does anybody think that? Does anybody buy that? Even maggots, you're in the audience. Do you think he's being honest here? Do you think it's 37 individual subscriptions for that amount of money? Do ya? Because if you actually believe that, you're fucking stupid. You're stupid. You're being stupid. You are stupid. I don't know if it's a permanent case of stupid or a temporary case of stupid, or if it's just willful ignorance because you like Jim Jordan for his look the other way rapey shit. It's dumb. Here's the thing. If you don't think they should be doing these group subscriptions at all, and it shouldn't be part of it, Make your fucking case. There's nothing wrong with that. You could go, I don't think they should be paying for these big group subscriptions so that everybody in the organization can have access to this, even though 20% of the workforce has to read it or has to check in on it or needs it as a source. Sit in this stupid fucking chair in the oversight committee and make your goddamn case. But don't shut down food assistance to poor people and children and that kind of stuff because you want everybody to believe that USAID is shockingly, involved in shocking amounts of graft by having, hiding $500,000 worth of money in 37 magazine subscriptions. I agree to everybody in the chat who's going that his followers believe this, the supporters believe that. Well, good. The ones that see this won't, because I'm not going to let you. You're being stupid. This is stupid. You don't get to go citation needed and all that kind of shit around all the arguments you don't like about climate change or whatever, and then give this shit a pass because it's fucking lazy.
That seems kind of high to me. Does that seem that way to you, Mr. Schatz?
Doing the math quickly, that seems excessive, yes.
Yeah. Take a little longer. Because it's not a subscription, it's a service. It's Politico Pro. It's part of their editorial service. They're huge organizations that have to deal with the public. They have to deal with the press. Again, the press end of all these different agencies has these subscriptions to things. They use them to access which way the news is going. They've got to track public trends and all that kind of stuff internally, right? So they're subscribed to a bunch of these fucking things. They're just mad because they don't understand what it's for. And by the way, I don't care. If you want to make the argument that Politico Pro is not the best version of that or whatever, then fucking make it. But again, it does not mean shutting down food assistance for people because you don't like that. Just attack that, you lazy fuck.
Yeah, that seems a lot for now. Maybe there's some explanation here. Maybe this.
I don't know. Maybe you've got a whole goddamn staff as the head of the Judiciary Committee that can look it up for you. You got Donald Trump's number. Have him ask Elon what they found. And I'll tell you what, mid-yawn when you hang up the phone and you're trying to figure out a lie to cover yourself, I wish a reporter would call you up and go, what'd you find?
Maybe Politico is so darn important that it costs that much and taxpayer money should be spent for. But I find that interesting, particularly $517,000 for 37 subscriptions when it's the press, the government paying the press. Does that in some way maybe jeopardize what the press?
Sorry, no, there's a service that Politico Pro provides. Somebody saw worth in it. You can disagree. And if you're saying they're just doing it for that reason, then I presume no one in your staff has a subscription to it. And certainly if they do, they pay for it on their own dime. It doesn't come out of your office. It doesn't come out of your campaign.
That's the free press that we're supposed to have in our great country.
Hey, asshole, free means their ability to say whatever they need to say. It doesn't mean zero cost.
Well, it's certainly something that taxpayers probably didn't know until today. I didn't know that.
Didn't know it till today, and it's also government
You still don't know it.
paying the press that kind of money. 37 subscriptions will give you $500,000. Might Politico write favorable things about the particular administration who's paying that money? I don't know. I'm not saying that happened.
Yeah, you are. You're I'll tell you what. You're pussing out about it. You're being a pusillanimous weasel. You're doing the weasel work of you're not implying it, but you're allowing for the inference therein. Which is what a weak man does. That's what a weak person does. Either say it, directly imply it and don't back off of it and deal with it when you're found out to be wrong, right? Or don't be a wuss.
But you can sure look at some of the things that's been reported by.
Yeah, I'm looking at the things that have been reported. And you know what the interesting thing is? In the things that have been reported, they are secondary sourced, obviously, in the House. You have access to that shit. We got to read the newspaper to find out some stuff, okay? Because we don't have access. We don't have people in the room, you know, listen to the phone calls. I have some friends that pass me along some information on occasion, which I share with you guys when it comes up. Or if I have a question, I will call them and go, is this a thing? But most of the time, I mean, I certainly don't have any operatives in there. He's got a whole fucking staff.
Some of the press, particularly Politico, and you can't help but ask that question.
Then ask it for real instead of pretending to ask it.
Governor Reynolds, I got like 50 seconds. You came all the way from the great state of Iowa. I'll give you a chance to comment on any of the things I raised there. But I do think this is amazing. The guy who's pointing out the stupid things the government spends money on, that's who gets attacked versus, no, let's fix the stupid things.
Nobody gives a shit about the things he's pointing out that you guys are jumping on. Do you see anybody like leaping to the defense of these, you know, expenditures in particular? Don't fucking cover your ass with like these like culture war like slipshod arguments, asshole. The complaint people have is his access to individual records of human beings, American citizens, that he should not have access to. And the problem I think that a lot of people have is that they could just be releasing bullshit they made up. For real, how do I know? How do we know that they didn't get in there and make up some of this stuff and just type it in? How about this? I'm implying that's exactly what they did. That the $32,000 transgender surgery in fucking Guatemala was an argument in like an inside joke in the Doge office, and they typed it in. Prove me wrong. I would be happy to be wrong. But you can't. You know why? Because you gave people who have not taken an oath to the government or to the Constitution access to these things, and you have no idea what they're doing. Prove that money actually went out the door. You can't. It's all on paper. It's all digital. And the more you let people who weren't supposed to have access in there, and there's no FOIA request chain where you can track it, the more I believe that it was just inserted. It's just bullshit. Prove me wrong. By the way, have any of these motherfuckers walked out and gone, I found the laptop, here it is? Anybody? Let me guess. When they walk out of there, do you think it's going to have a Beau Biden sticker on it, or are they going to forget to slap that thing on there? Think they're going to walk out with a Dell with a fucking Apple sticker on the top of it? You're going to walk out with a hard drive? I found the laptop. It's a hard drive named laptop. Have you seen it yet? They've been in power. I mean, obviously he couldn't end the Ukraine war in 24 hours, but he sure as fuck hasn't found the laptop. Where is it? Where is it? Somebody from the Oval Office on behalf of the president currently could walk the fuck over to the FBI and go, let me see it. They could absolutely do it if it existed. John G has it right now. Don't let them have it if they come for it, John G. Just hold on to it, and I'll come by and pick it up later. Right? Where the fuck is that? Where is it? Yeah, is it a vinyl sticker or is it a fabric sticker? They're going to get it wrong. And the problem they have is they create unfalsifiables. When you allow people to fuck around inside the government or a giant hack to happen, and then you find out later, you know, just like if you have identity theft situations, you can't, any criminal defendant, any civil defendant can go, Your Honor, there is no way the state can prove that the documents they brought in are, are actually true documents that show reality, show what I bought, what I sold, where I was, what I did. They don't, if that's their evidence, there is no way they can prove that it was not modified from within by the Doge guys to come after me. There is no way they can prove that. And I, because of my Fifth Amendment protections, am not responsible for just bringing in every fucking email I've ever written so that they can sift through them and try to find a crime because they were unable to create one out of thin air. I would recommend this to anybody that where the weaponization of government comes from. All you got to do is go, Your Honor, there is no chain of custody on any of the material they're trying to use to convict me. None. The Doge bags broke in. They have been allowed unfettered access to all government servers. There is no way to prove it isn't compromised. There is no way to prove that these are the original documents. They have just printed them out. They could have just typed them up themselves, and it is not my responsibility to prove their case for them. Yeah, Fourth Amendment is search and seizure, but Fifth Amendment is incrimination, self-incrimination. You can't be forced to self-incriminate. And if they can't prove that that evidence was never tampered with because you let Doge in there and they can change the dates on documents and there's no FOIA request they're honoring about who had access to what, who could prove a case internally for anything that happens in the fucking government? Who? Not, seriously. Anywhere. Your Honor, we have these documents. Here's the dates, here's the thing. Prove they didn't alter it, Your Honor. They gave someone access to this stuff, and I'm not responsible for providing them with evidence. They have to prove that the material they are presenting today was untouched by Doge, and they can prove that it wasn't, or that it was untouched. As for my part in this, I plead the Fifth. I'm not leading these assholes towards some wiggle room so they can try to whitewater me. Look, I don't mind being this brilliant, but everything I'm saying is legally a reality because they are not tracking the access these guys have. The idea that it's not limited to, say, Department of Justice servers or something like that they're not accessing it through a terminal in the Oval Office. And no one could track what they were doing on any particular time. I want a list of their activities. So if they were, yeah, exactly. You have to prove me guilty. And if you're using government documents to do it, how can you say they're real? So, the fact that this guy, thank God this guy is so fucking dumb. Thank God that Jim Jordan is a fucking moron. Yeah, I want keystroke logs. Templeton, you and I both know that if you can get the keystroke logs, you can change the keystroke logs. Where's the line? Now, in any government document that is going to be used to, weaponize government, Pam Bondi shows up fucking anywhere. We found these emails, Your Honor, prove it. But these, Your Honor, these are real emails from a prove it. Prove they weren't modified from within. Because again, last edited, you can change the last edited. And even if, there's malware that can sweep up after they fucking leave. So, all right. Here we go.
Spend money on them. I just don't get that. And I think the American people have common sense, and that's how they look at it. My guess is, I know.
No. They do not have common sense in this case. They have common misconceptions. They have been sold a bill of goods, and some of it sounds reasonable. it's common sense that a timeshare is a great use of your money and it's not a problem and you're going to use it and it's going to be great and don't you like it anyways? And then you find out later trying to get out of it is fucking hell, right? That's common sense as well. But it's only common sense you get after you fucked up the first time. And if it's your own money and your own life, who cares?
Lots of good people in Iowa, they have lots of common sense. That's probably how they look at it.
That's exactly how.
Really? Do they? You sure? Or do they go, Xi Jinping used to come here all the time, and without the Chinese soybean market, we're fucked, and therefore China deserves concessions. That's also an Iowa political point.
How they look at it, $36 trillion in debt, $2 trillion annually being added to the debt. Kevin and I have 11 grandchildren. I want them to have the same opportunity I did growing up, and I appreciate President Trump trying to.
Sorry, you want to have the same opportunities you had growing up? Which is what? Going to an elementary school with no computers in it? Going, traveling on across bridges that are failing beyond repair because it was before even the infrastructure bill before the last one? Those same chances?
Right-size the ship and get it back in line. And I don't hear any answers to the contrary. What are their answers except for leave everything the way it is? And that.
Nobody said that. Straw man. Nobody said that. Nobody's saying leave it the way it is. What they're saying is if you don't handle a grease fire in a kitchen by blowing up the house. Well, say what you will, but the kitchen fire's out.
That's not working, so thank you.
That's not what you did in Iowa. You didn't leave
not what we
everything
did.
the way it is, and you changed things, and taxpayers got more efficient government.
Did they? There you go. Hold on one second. Iowa education stats. Oops. Department of Education, COE. Let's give it a shot. Boink. There we go. Okay. Assessment. Presents students' participation rates, proficiency rates, da-da-da-da. Okay, cool. Assessment by year. There's the chart. Let's look at it. Yeah, massive changes. You're doing, yeah, super good. Hold on. Control minus and shrink this down. Yeah, it's been a huge change, man. Just incredible. Let's see. Select school district. Yeah, it's the state overall, and measure proficiency rates. Select topic. Residents. Let's see. Select district. There's the overall state. Let's see. Year all students. Just humming right along at about 69 to 71%. Yeah, apparently math proficiency has gone down in Iowa because you are apparently incapable of understanding static general lack of change. Again, there's nothing wrong with Iowa trying stuff, but let's not pretend they went from last place to first place, for fuck's sake.
Which is exactly what we want. I yield back. Thank you.
Okay, then let's see. Where is? Oh, it's in this one. Sorry, one second. This right here. So this is Byron Donalds. Did you purposefully you know what? It's the same shit. We don't need to see these guys again. Yeah, it's the same Boebert garbage. Now, here's what I want to show you. So Nancy Mace is so awful that they decided to give her a small little room and just let her lay into people. So they gave her an oversight hearing on $10 million in taxpayer-funded transgender animal tests. Transgender lab rats and poison puppies, oversight of taxpayer-funded animal cruelty, where she exposes over $10 million of taxpayer money used on animal experiments involving transgender mice, rats, monkeys. Watch the ethical questions and wasteful spending highlighted by experts like Justin Goodman from the White Coat Waste Project. Again, same assholes. And they challenge the necessity and morality of these experiments.
The Subcommittee on Cybersecurity, Information Technology, and Government Innovation will now come to order.
Right. And to that end, she is questioning $10 million in biological experiments.
And welcome. Good afternoon. Without objection, the chair may declare a recess at any time. I recognize myself for the purpose of making an opening statement.
That's weird. That's what I also do. Like, there's a little mirror right over here, and I'm like, hey, you, I almost didn't recognize you without it looks good. It's looking all right. It's coming together.
Good afternoon.
Can't tell if you look like a Viking or a pirate or a extra in a Ren Fair rom-com.
Last year, the White Coat Waste Project exposed more than $10 million in taxpayer funds that were spent creating transgender mice, rats, and monkeys.
Okay, $10 million, transgender, and it worked? Sorry, there are transgender monkeys running around? Oh my God, the version of 28 Days Later meets RuPaul's Drag Race is going to be hot.
These DEI grants funded painful and deadly
DEI? I guess because they're checking to see if it's possible for transition to work?
transgender experiments that force lab animals to undergo invasive surgeries and hormone therapies at universities across the country.
Okay, so $10 million spread out over university grants for a myriad of things. And what the university, like, we don't put a leash on what they can do. So some of them looked into these because that was part of the study. By the way, don't get riled up. It's fucking so lazy.
For example, the Biden-Harris administration spent $2.5 million taxpayer dollars, $2.5 million taxpayer dollars to study the fertility of transgender mice.
Maybe to see if puberty blockers do make animals sterile and therefore see if they're actually safe for kids. As opposed to, I don't know. Look, I understand Nancy Mace would rather this testing happen on living children, especially poor kids.
Let that sink in.
Against their will.
We spent over $2 million studying the fertility of transgender mice.
Also, no, there are no transgender mice. There aren't. What they did was they gave them puberty blockers, and then they took them off puberty blockers, and then they saw if they could still reproduce. That's not money spent on transgender mice. This is just dumb. My studies are self-reported.
$1.1 million was spent to find out if female rats receiving testosterone therapies to mimic transgender men were more likely to overdose on a party drug, commonly used in the LGBTQ community to induce drug-fueled what's called, quote, chemsex. I asked my staff what was chemsex and the chemical.
And they were like, I don't have Matt Gates's number. Does anybody have Matt Gates's number? I mean, basically just read any of the stories about him and the girls he doped.
And I guess it's something called GHB, which is a date rape drug, and also a drug that's used recreationally. So we spent over $1 million.
Yeah, it's about impulse control if you give testosterone to female mice to see if, because men have weaker impulse control technically than women do, largely because of the estrogen testosterone balance. And if you change that balance, does it make them able to fight their urges or manage their urges, or does it have a secondary negative effect? Now, again, apparently she wants this tested on people.
To find out if female rats receiving testosterone therapy were more likely to overdose on a date rape drug. Like, that's what your taxpayer dollars were being spent on.
No, they weren't. No, your taxpayer dollars were spent on universities within the freedom available to them to explore areas that were important to the current conversation or biological thinking and see if things are possible new pathogens and all kinds of stuff. And part of this was the question that came up repeatedly was, if you give somebody puberty blockers and you take them off it, will they be sterile? Which was one of the arguments she was making. And her big fear is that you'll find out or you won't, whatever it is. Like, she just doesn't want you to look.
Federal funds were also used to forcibly transition male monkeys to see if hormone therapy made.
Sorry, all animals were forcibly transitioned because they have no way of communicating, even if it did exist, that they wanted to be, you weirdo.
Them more susceptible to HIV. Now, I didn't know this until recently, but monkeys cannot be infected with HIV.
Huh. You don't think maybe, work with me on this, that it might be the H part in the IV? Because it's not PIV, primate immunodeficiency virus. It's HIV, human immunodeficiency virus. Stupid. It surprised me that rattlesnakes can't get the common cold. And it's if they do, it's very uncommon. So technically they can't get the common cold. They can get a cold, but it's very uncommon. And we spent money trying to see if you could hear a snake sneeze.
Yet this federally funded experiment forced them to take hormone-altering drugs to study a virus they cannot have. The Biden-Harris administration was so eager to propagate their radical gender ideology across all facets of American society that...
By the way, does anybody think this is like put into the record? Right? Can we see these, like, because again, grants to schools dealing with fertility or all kinds of things, like there's a myriad of areas where funding can go to. She's just gonna just say this, and we're just gonna take. I guess, you know what? They'll probably. How am I to guess? How am I to doubt what they're saying? Who am I to doubt? They clearly will give evidence later.
They were surgically mutating animal genitals. Like, taxpayer money went to that. So my question is, were they castrating mice, castrating monkeys? Were they getting double mastectomies?
Mastectomies?
The language that they used in many of these experiments were, quote, gender-affirming care, which I learned about 3 years ago what that meant. I thought that was maybe just some hormones or something something like that, but apparently gender-affirming care is actually surgical mutilation of genitals, and apparently it's not just humans.
Okay, again, experimenting on animals to see if the addition of testosterone or estrogen and imbalancing a biological male or a biological female would cause a bunch of negative effects, and again, fuck me. Like, we understand what this is. Like, what she's doing here is like an appeal to ick. It's supposed to just creep you out. Like, her constituents and the people around her going, ew, instead of going, all right, I can see why they would do that with animals rather than humans.
We're doing it too. We were doing it with taxpayer dollars to animals. It's well known that because of the differences between animal and human biology, animal testing frequently does not produce results relevant for humans. In fact,
right. But they start there.
90% of novel drugs that are successful in animal tests fail in human clinical trials.
Yeah, and 10% don't. What's the failure rate without it? Hey, asshole. Me, back here in the back, real quick. I got a question for you. How many untested drugs that we give to people are successful? What's the percentage of untested drugs that make it to human trials that work? Without animal testing, without any other testing. Like, what's the percentage? You don't have that written on the paper there? Jesus.
Today's scientific questions are so complex that we have well surpassed a time where it is useful or appropriate to rely on inhumane animal experiments to answer them. Recently developed technological tools can more accurately model human biology and identify solutions that are more useful for human patients.
Yeah, only if you have data around it, like kidney disease and shit like that, because we have lots of it. Stupid. It's the novel nature of these things that's icking you out, but it's also the novel aspect of these things that requires new data. There is no history of data around these things, dummy. That's why animal testing is part of the process.
But it is
Yeah, and by the way, thank you, Templeton. Like she's a fucking, like she gives a fuck about animal, the morality of animal testing.
It's often the federal bureaucracy that prevents these new technologies from being used. Instead of adequately investing in these innovative alternatives, the federal government has continued to funnel taxpayer dollars towards cruel animal experiments.
Or in a lot of these areas, there is no replacement for them yet. We have all this information on how a combustion engine works. Why can't we just apply that to an electric engine? Why don't we use just the same maintenance schedule on an electric engine that we use for a internal combustion engine? We have all this data. Why can't we just use all the data on gasoline and apply that to lithium-ion batteries? Gee, I don't know. I'd have to think about it, stupid.
Today, most of the 27 NIH institutes and centers conduct or support animal testing, as does the Food and Drug Administration, the U.S. Department of Agriculture, the Department of Veterans Affairs, the Department of Defense, and countless other agencies.
Right, and Donald Trump is not going to stop any of it. What's your point?
We have some beagle puppies here with us today. Beagle puppies have gone through some of the worst medical experiments. I mean,
No, they haven't. They've gone through terrible ones, but they're considered the worst because you like beagle puppies.
drugging them with cocaine, having insects eat at them and their bodies so much until they die, drugging them until they die. These are God's creatures, and they're beautiful, and you can see them sitting in the front row today. So we thank the folks who are here.
The issue, I think, might just be that, ma'am, if I may, it might just be that you didn't give a fuck about beagle puppies until you got a shot at trans people. Also, real quick, sorry. Hold on one second. Let's try to. There is a. Give me 1 second. There we go. No, this is the Beagle Brigade Act signed into law, boosting efforts to keep out bad food, whatever. Hold on. Beagle Biden Beagle rules testing. Let me do this. There we go. Yeah, this is this goes back to this is you got a Senator Kane plots passive. Okay, there we go. Yeah, where is it? Damn it! Yeah. U.S. Senator Tim Kaine, Democrat of Virginia, applauded the unanimous Senate passage of bipartisan FDA Modernization Act 2.0, which would end an outdated Food and Drug Administration mandate that experimental drugs must be tested on animals before they are used on humans in clinical trials. came and voted to pass the bill out of the Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee over the summer. He's a composer of similar legislation, the FDA Modernization Act, led by Senators Rand Paul and Cory Booker. Look at that, people working together. I'm glad the Senate passes legislation that would prevent the suffering of innocent animals while still ensuring that critical medicines are safe and effective. Data has shown that animal testing is not always the best indicator of a drug's effects in humans, and we have alternative testing methods that are equally or more effective. I urge the House of Representatives to pass it soon and get it on President Biden's desk. Let's see if I, hold on. There you go. Let's see. 2024, VA ordered to end experiments on dogs, cats, and primates by 2026. That's in Stars and Stripes. Look at that little papa. Experiments and testing on cats, dogs, and primates by the Department of Veterans Affairs must end by 2026 under newly enacted legislation that lawmakers highlighted during a House subcommittee hearing on Tuesday. Debbie Wasserman Schultz of Florida led it up. Legislation was part of the VA spending bill, signed into law. What's your fucking point, lady? They shut it down. Republicans didn't give a shit. She only cares because she associates it with trans experimentation. She's trying to tie the two together.
And brought these beautiful beagle puppies here today. In fact, the U.S. government spends in excess of $20 billion a year conducting experiments on animals. The White Coat Waste Project found in 2021 that the NIH, the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, a component of NIH at the time, ran by Dr. Fauci, spent $1.68 million force-feeding toxic drugs to beagle puppies between 6 and 8 months old.
This has been around for a long time. This is the idea that like they've been dragging this Fauci shit around. Let's see, Beaglegate they called it. What's the real story between animals are federally funded based on these reports and subsequent media coverage of dubbed Beaglegate. 24 House members led by Republican Nancy Mace of South Carolina sent a bipartisan letter to Fauci and the NIAID, which is part of NIH, asking for more information. The lawmakers request response by November 19. The studies were in Tunisia. White Coat Waste Project said its investigators had discovered, here you go. And in its August post, the White Coat Waste Project said its investigators had discovered photos and government records showing that the NIAID ordered over $375,000 in funding for a study in Tunisia to drug beagles and lock their heads in mesh cages filled with hundreds of infected sandflies. This is what she's talking about. However, both the NIAID and the journal that published a paper on the study have since said the NIH did not fund that research. That's right. These taxpayer-funded white coats intentionally had the insects eat these beagles alive, the Post said, adding the beagles were also locked, quote, in cages in the desert overnight for 9 consecutive nights to use them as bait to attract infectious sandflies. The photos, which have been shared widely online, were pulled from a paper about a study that investigated whether the flies were more attracted to dogs with or without leishmaniasis, a parasitic disease found in the tropics, subtropics, and southern Europe. The paper, published last September, originally said the authors received funding for the research from the Wellcome Trust Foundation and the National Institutes of Health, but NIAID said it did not fund the study in question. The images of beagles were drawn from a manuscript published in 2021 in the journal PLOS, Neglected Tropical Diseases. The manuscript mistakenly cited support from NIAID when in fact NIAID did not support the specific research shown in the images of the beagles being circulated. NIAID said in a statement, a spokesperson emailed to us. Indeed, on October 26th, the journal issued a correction saying the U.S. National Institutes of Health and the Wellcome Trust did not provide any funding for this research, and any such claim was made in error. So they fixed it afterwards, the white coat crowd. In the NIAID-supported study, 12 dogs were immunized with an experimental vaccine. This is, however, they said it funded a separate project in Tunisia that studied a vaccine to prevent leishmaniasis. An experimental vaccine by the Pasteur Institute of Tunis, and then let out in a closed open space during the day during high sandfly season, according to hyper-endemic for canine leishmaniasis. The goal of the research was to determine if the experimental vaccine prevented the dogs from becoming infected in a natural setting. They were not caged. They didn't have their head put in a fucking like mesh wire cage. And she knows this.
Before dissecting and killing them. The conversation we're having today is important
Because, okay, sorry.
2022, due to public criticism, lobbied against Fauci's NIAID by me and other members of Congress, another $1.8 million experiment to abuse beagle puppies in various drug tests was canceled. So I want to thank the work of White Coat Waste and everyone in the room today, others who've been on the forefront of this fight to end this sick and cruel and barbaric testing of animals.
Okay, so we've seen in a couple things that she's been on this for a while. Now, whether she's on it because she hates Fauci and she's anti-science is immaterial. I'm against animal testing. I'm against certainly testing on fucking beagle puppies, but I don't think an animal is more valuable just because it's adorable. You know what I mean? There are a couple of animals like alligators where I'm like, all right, asshole. But no. But if you could test on them, I'd be like, I don't know what to tell you, you guys. You'd fuck me up if you had the chance. She's just doing this to drag on Fauci and to drag on transgender research. That's all she cares about. But the end result, if she is part of what stops it, I don't care. Right? She's not going to stop like transgender people from living their best lives no matter how hard she tries, and it's not going to happen based on this. So who gives a shit? Good for you. Go ahead, lady. End animal testing that's already ended.
Today. Thanks to one of our witnesses, Justin Goodman of White Coat Waste. We have in the audience, I already know, the beagles are here. The beagles are a reminder of the real cost of animal experimentation. So I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah, they started out as cats. These are trans beagles.
This afternoon regarding wasteful government.
Yeah, they were originally, these were, one was originally named Marmaduke. He was actually a Great Dane, and they transitioned him through a bonsai tree technique.
Spending on animal cruelty. And I also want to say, before I yield over to the ranking member for her opening statement, that this
is a nonpartisan issue, and that's why I voted for Kristi Noem, dog shooter.
This is a nonpartisan issue. Ironically, in oversight, while we might fight a lot in public, we are actually very nonpartisan here, and some of the most nonpartisan work in Congress comes right through this committee. So I want to thank the ranking member. Look forward to working with you. Thank you all for being here today. I will now recognize myself for 5 minutes.
Okay, this is her opening
Questioning. Mr. Goodman, in your written statement, you state the White Coat Waste Project identified at least $10 million in NIH grants for transgender animal experiments. You state that 95% of the funding came from Dr. Fauci's NIAID.
Because he was running the NIH and the NIAID is underneath it. That's not like his personal directive. Simmer.
Why is the federal government spending taxpayer dollars to create transgender animals?
It's a great question.
Your microphone.
Thank you.
I know if you want, I could explain it again, or are you just going to be an asshole and say there is no reason?
Great question. I wonder why they're making cats constipated also. It's a question that rings around in my head at night.
Because you can't wait until they're constipated to test stuff on their gastrointestinal tract. You can't, hey, that one looks like it. Stick a thermometer up his ass.
Going to bed why we're funding these things. A lot of the programs that are funded do latch on to some type of social trend, and then animal experimenters use it as a money grab, as an excuse to get NIH tax funds from some, in this case, DEI grant. So the argument from this asshole is that there are, future serial killers who like torturing animals, and they just comb through social media for some hot button issue, and then they go get money from what other side is for it or against it to run tests on animals just so they can make them, they can put them through, they can torture animals, they can torture puppies. That's totally tracks. Grants were used to fund a lot of this stuff. So people who abuse animals find some kind of excuse to bring in new money, and they'll switch their research program over to something that's trendy to bring tax dollars into their university. That's
the University of Puppy Kickers.
Part of the big problem here is that colleges and universities.
See, scrotum tends to be more fluffy, and the male hamster scrotum is more. That's disgusting.
Universities are taking 25 to 40% off the top of every single one of these grants for indirect costs that go into a slush fund that has nothing to do with the research. So.
Nothing to do with the research. What else does a university do besides research? I don't know. Pay for the facility. Janitorial services? Are you sure? So your problem is the money that comes in for experimentation that doesn't go to harming puppies. Awesome.
They're willing to let experimenters do whatever they want to animals to keep the money flowing in.
Some people might describe that as money laundering.
Let me show you money laundering. Let me tell you, there are few stories more shocking than the story of Vietnamese weasel coffee. You want to talk about money laundering? You have not lived until you have drank a cup of coffee that has been passed through the colon of a weasel. According to research by Professor Massimo Marcone at the University of Guelph in Canada, fucking Canadians, what they won't spend their money on, oh boy. During the weasel's digestive process, enzymes pass through the bean's pectin layer, changing their protein and molecular structure, creating sugars and mellowing the flavor. Mellow. Assy. Yeah. You guys, please tell me you guys know about this. It looks promising. I can't not unsee it though. All right, whose weasel shit in my milk? Yeah, that's the Kuchan for the people and the civets. A mixture of animal abuse and high price tag doesn't exactly make for the world's most appealing drink. Not to worry, if you had a cup of weasel coffee in Hanoi coffee shop or bought a bag to send home, the chances are good you haven't contributed to these practices. You buy a couple of weasel coffee in Hanoi for as little as this. One reason behind this low price is because the weasel coffee had never been near a civet at all. That doesn't mean you weren't giving close. So they recreate it, but this is ass. This is weasel ass coffee. Those are the beans. That's how they come out, and then yeah, there you go. I don't know why they would check it, maybe it's in Canada. Maybe it's maybe there's a conjoined. I don't even know how to word this without grossing myself out. Maybe there's just the University of Ottawa and Civet University in Vietnam making ass coffee. Who knows?
All right, are sex change experiments that forcibly transition mice, rats, and monkeys necessary for science?
Are you a scientist? I think would be the first question. Are you a scientist? Do you actually? His answer is right there.
Absolutely not.
Why do these experiments at all?
Sorry, hold on. Based on what? Absolutely not. Why am I taking your word for it? You very well may be right. You may be right after they did the experiments, right? That's how you find out. We did the experiments. We found out, nope, it doesn't change a fucking thing. Yeah, lesson learned. So it did work, even if you found out it didn't do what you thought it would. Again, I didn't fail 1,000 times. I just found 999 ways not to make a light bulb and shove it up a civet's ass.
If they aren't producing useful human relevant research, why again, you think it's a money issue? Follow the money.
Animal testing is big business.
And apparently they like it. It's not just, it's a pleasurable business, apparently. There's apparently universities all over the United States where they love getting bucks from the NIH to just stick a cattle prod up a monkey's ass for some reason.
I've been long vocal about animal experiments and federal funded animal testing and worked with you to prevent Fauci's plan to waste almost $2 million in taxpayer dollars to maim and murder beagle puppies, for example.
Which we now know was false.
Why was Dr. Fauci so insistent on poisoning these puppies, even though, as you state in your written statement, the FDA does not mandate that human drugs be studied on dogs?
Because they didn't?
So much of the problem with all of this is institutional inertia. It's that people just continue doing the same thing because that's what they've done before.
Yeah, that explains all the leeching treatments I've gotten.
There was a report that came out, the National Academy of Sciences put out a few years ago about the VA's testing on dogs that Congressman Khanna actually helped us get the NAS to conduct. And they found that most of the VA's testing on dogs was unnecessary. And not only that it was unnecessary, but one of the reasons why is that there's this circular reasoning that they use to defend it when they propose a new project. They say, well, we used dogs previously, so we're just going to use dogs again.
Because the information they got before actually worked out. I mean, it's terrible, but like they're not just doing it out of habit. If it didn't work, it wouldn't work again.
And there's no one to break that cycle. There's not enough oversight to say, hey, maybe we don't need to do this anymore.
Yes, there was. It ended a year ago after a 2023 introduction of that bill by Democrats under Joe Biden. Simmer the fuck down.
Maybe there's a better way to do it.
There's definitely a better way to do it now. But don't pretend that because you live in fucking 2025 and AI and computers have made these giant leaps forward that everybody who was doing this shit in the 90s was just doing it because they like to burn puppies' feet, you fucking weirdo.
It's like, you know, if you only have a hammer, everything looks like a nail.
I'm sorry I used that phrase. I'm going to stop.
And that's kind of the problem.
Right.
No, apparently everything, if you're a hammer, everything looks like a beagle's nose.
And what would have happened to these beagle puppies if if your organization hadn't rescued them?
In the case of those experiments, those dogs were going to be force-fed and injected with massive doses of experimental drugs to poison them to see at what point they got sick or died.
Yeah, where'd you rescue them from?
And those tests will have no relevance for the safety and efficacy of that drug in human beings.
Thank you. Dr. Locke, if you...
Well, no. Where'd you get them? I mean, did you pick them up at a government facility? Was it University of fucking Cambridge? Was it UCLA? Where? Wouldn't that matter? Because if you went and fucking rescued them in Tunisia, I got to kind of call bullshit.
Questions for you. Can the scientific challenges we face today be solved by relying on animal testing?
Relying? No. No, you can't rely on any kind of limited testing. Can you rely on human testing alone right out of the gate? No, because you'll end up killing a bunch of people. You'll never get to a drug that you can actually release.
No, not all of them.
Oh, not all of them. There's some wiggle room.
Can you briefly describe how new technologies can allow us to transition away from animal testing without hindering scientific research?
Certainly. I also want to point out that in my written testimony, I do try to lay out a roadmap for how that could happen. But basically what we need to do is we need to spend a lot more resources supporting these non-animal technologies, such as organs on a chip and organoids, so we can use
Human-animal hybrids. Okay, look at this. Look at this. We're all coming together. Human-animal hybrids, creating human cells and mixing them with pig cells and seeing if because they can grow faster as pig cells, and then you grow this thing and then you see if it's treated and what the response is to the drug, is exactly what science has been leaning towards away from this. It's the same fucking guy. Why did all these guys go bald? They're either all going to the same orgies or they met at Greco-Roman wrestling class. Probably not. But the point is, in this situation, this is the shit that during the Bush administration, Alex Jones was telling the Nancy Maces of the world that this is how they're going to make, chimeras. Yes, it's a solution. Everybody's been for it for a long fucking time. And it does beat animal testing. Duh.
those to study many of the phenomena we're now studying in animals.
Right, and the only people hamstringing the organoid growth and the chimera experiments to see what works in human tissue and what doesn't has been Republicans.
Okay, thank you. And Ms. Baker, what are your thoughts today, reading your testimony for the opportunity to testify that it's long overdue? Where do we go from here? How do we fix the problem?
I think we've
Now that all of the children are growing up.
fixed the problem by investing in what is going right. We've got to cut a lot of this terrible animal research. We need to cut the National Primate Research Centers. We are funding these centers to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars every year. We've got to stop funding animal.
One moment, please. This is what she's talking about. National Primate Research Centers. The top 10 accomplishments. There you go. Who we are, what we do. We're a network of 7 biomedical and behavioral research centers that know curiosity and creativity make breakthroughs possible. We partner with the National Institute of Health and others to develop solutions for health issues by studying non-human primates. These highly regulated studies provide unique insights available to, okay, this is their story on this. COVID-19 vaccine shows promise, blah, blah, blah. Promising tuberculosis therapy, safe for patients with HIV, it finds. Human trials for Parkinson's begin after primate success. Breakthrough in HIV treatment. Tulane study shows promise in clearing. Unlocking the new avenues of COVID-19. This is why they hate it, because it's primarily around HIV and COVID and infectious diseases and flu shit and all that kind of stuff. Now, education learners, new primate info, research, NIH, active open data portal, education learners, Americans for Medical Progress, AMP, Love Care and Progress inside the non-human research facility. You're leaving there? Okay, cancel, whatever. Policymakers, media, National Association for Biomedical Research, Primate Research. Okay, stay connected. Here's their whole thing. Mission and visions, the 7 centers. Okay, where are the 7 centers? They're in California, Oregon, Washington, Texas, Louisiana, Georgia, and Wisconsin. 7 centers, 1 network. Multicultural pals. Nuckchuck. All right, shall we look at Texas real quick? This is just Southwest. I don't know why that. Okay, continue. Come on, Texas. Let's do this. Texas Biomedical Research Institute. So the funding, there you go. Improving the health of our global community through innovative biomedical research with non-human primates. This is the whole thing. Extraordinary research. Our science, animals and research, education, laboratory core services, blah, 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 blah. In San Antonio, there's its address. It's a shipping address and its mailing address. Texas Biomedical Research, health starts with science, copyright 2025. So they keep updating it. Learn more about us. Southwest Primate Center is part of a network of national primate research centers funded by the National Institute of Health, Office of Research Infrastructure Programs. SBR-NRC is a unit of Texas Biomedical Research Institute. Texas Biomed, a not-for-profit independent research institute with a strong history of pioneering philosophy, committed to beating monkeys until they're sad. Download this brochure for more information about it. The leadership, here they are. Let's see the puppy kickers. There she is. There's Karina Ross. She's the head puppy kicker. She's the monkey flogger. Catherine Shelton, DVM, PhD, DACLAM, Associate Director of Veterinary Resources, attending veterinarian. There she is. This lady, Dr. Shannon Hall Ursone, she's the third in charge. Mahesh Mohan is the one of only 2 dudes. Yeah, only 2 guys there. And Dr. Angelica M. Olmo Fontanes is the Assistant Director of Research, so she's in charge of mistreating the monkeys. Assistant Director of Operations, so she operates on the monkeys. And he's the Finance Director, and he's the Interim Associate Director of Research. So whoever the last guy was or person was bailed. So it's, congratulations, lady. You are, 5-2 in the leadership of monkey beaters.
Animal experiments outside the United States, as Mr. Goodman said, that have no oversight. We've got to stop. If you can meet your objectives without using animals, there's absolutely no reason that you should. And
totally agree.
so
And I was going to say, thank you for bringing that up, the amount of money, the hundreds of millions. I recently found out in the state of South Carolina, in my district, there's a primate breeding center and testing site, Alpha Genesis. They've made, to my understanding, over $100 million from NIH over the last 20 or so years. This is a boondoggle. It is.
No, it isn't. They actually use them. You can be against the using of them, which I am, but it's not a boondoggle. It's not a racket. It's a thing. And also, it's your fucking state. So, I don't know, fix it, shut it down, pass a law on the state level. What's wrong with you? And what was the other thing? $20 million? Oh, the fact that it's called Alpha Genesis sounds like something out of fucking Planet of the Apes. Right? It sounds like in a Netflix series, the name of the awful company where the infected monkeys escaped
And
from.
testing site, Alpha Genesis, they've made much.
Alpha Genesis. You know, I think she's just mad because Genesis, Bible, primates, evolution, that makes her mad.
To my understanding, over $100 million from NIH over the last 20 or so years. This is a boondoggle. It is a racket, and hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah, it doesn't cost more than like $5 to take care of a full-grown monkey. I mean, all you need is a good yard fence and a bucket of monkey chow, right? What is all this money going to?
Billions of dollars, in fact, have been wasted on it. So I want to thank you all for your testimony today. Thank you for being here. I would now like to recognize my colleague, Ms. Brown, for 5 minutes.
Again, thank you to our witness.
Question, Mr. Goodman. What
By the way, this is all her stuff. This is on her channel, so she cut out everybody else. This is just her.
is the worst animal testing experiment you've ever heard of and uncovered?
And I'm dreaming about it right now.
There's some really bad ones out there. What is the absolute worst one you've ever heard of and uncovered?
And was Anthony Fauci there masturbating behind a glass pane, like a one-way mirror at the time? I bet he was.
The kitten cannibalism was pretty horrendous. Breeding kittens just to force them to eat cat meat and then killing them even though they were perfectly healthy after they collected their feces out of a litter box. I mean, that's literally what was happening. They were doing that to thousands and thousands of kittens. The DOJ, until recently, was stabbing, shooting, and blowing up live animals for training exercises. We were able to cut that and defund that.
Under Joe Biden.
The experiments that the NIH funded and Fauci funded in Tunisia, where they were putting the dogs and heads in mesh cages and filling them with biting flies.
That was a lie. I pointed that out earlier.
Yeah, there's a lot of nightmarish stuff that we're being forced to fund, and taxpayers don't like it, and they don't even know how bad the situation is. If they did, they would be, marching in the streets.
Yeah.
They are marching in the streets, but largely because Elon Musk is getting their Social Security numbers.
And Dr. Locke, a question for you. What are the prospects of a drug therapy that fails animal testing? Is it likely to receive regulatory approval?
Thank you for your question. I'm not an expert on the drug development process, but the way
Excellent. Glad we asked you. Thanks. Next.
you've described things, I think if the drug would not make it through the tests that are required, it would not be able to be in the market.
So what you're saying is if you gave it to an animal and the animal died, you're less likely to give it to a person? What are the odds?
If I could just add, though, that Congress has really looked closely at this issue about developing drugs and has
Under Democrats.
passed a law, the FDA Modernization Act, that removed the requirements for testing drugs. And
Under Joe Biden.
my understanding is that there's bipartisan support for another law because Congress feels that the FDA is not moving more quickly in this area. That is the FDA Modernization Act 3.0 that would force the agency to really pay a lot more attention to using alternatives.
Okay, and then Ms. Baker, before I hand it over to Ms. Boebert, I love your idea.
Oh, dear God. Boebert was in this one?
Of revisiting the Animal Welfare Act. I would be open to working with you and finding that language and doing a bill that would insert that language to define.
Great. Nancy Mace, trying to, cares more about animals than we give her credit for. Awesome. Good for you. How about this? How about leave trans people alone, keep your fucking nose out of their business, and just focus on this? Do you realize how awesome you could be simply by doing that? Just leave people alone. If this was all you were doing, for the most part, listening to this, I would think you were a Democrat. The only reason she's having to hold this hearing and do this at all is because Republicans were hamstringing the previous FDA Modernization Acts.
What an animal is, I think it's very important. I'm all about small parts, big difference. Of course, I would like.
Oh, so you've met Trump.
To eradicate animal testing altogether, but that seems like an easy win that we could work on together in a nonpartisan manner. So I would love to talk.
I agree. Hurrah. Hurrah. Busy yourself with this. Awesome. Great. Yes, do that. Spend all your fucking time doing this and leave trans people alone. You don't know shit. And even if you think you're helping, you're not. I think, chat room, wouldn't you be completely okay with that dipshit just working on this all the time? If that was her fucking one nerve she worked all the time and then she was just trying to do shit for jobs in her district? It'd be fucking great. Do that. And leave trans people alone. Oi, her hair looks like something about Mary. There is something chunky in there. I mean, I washed mine this morning and it's very flowing. I gotta say, it got very fluffy. Cause I think, you know what it was? I didn't put it in a towel. I usually put my hair up in a towel and it flattens out the front and kind of twists it a little bit. And I just let it hang. And then I was late running around and then it just fucking straight up metal. Boom. So, again, progress. 5:06. God damn it. I'm already past my time. Let's see if there's...
Have tariffs, mostly...
Hold on. Okay. So let me give you one thing out of this. Where's this? I think it's later.
Understanding were you able to obtain on the economic field?
Okay, he's asking the Japanese leader stuff. And then they asked Trump something.
So,
because I think he says something, I haven't seen it yet, but I think he says something about Gaza, or they ask him about it.
You said on tariffs that you'd like them to be reciprocal back and forth. What was the reception from the Japanese Prime Minister when you said that, or when you talked about it?
Well, we didn't discuss tariffs too much. We really discussed many other things, including the pipeline in Alaska, which I think is going to be maybe the most exciting thing with Doug, Chris. We discussed that at length, the pipeline. I mean, it seemed to be of great interest.
I said pipeline a lot, and he seemed to nod a lot, and I said pipeline. And he's like, do you understand when I say pipeline? Pipeline? Mm-hmm. You understand pipeline? Pipeline. I said pipeline.
Them. It's, we have potentially more oil and gas than in Saudi Arabia, just in Alaska. We have the most...
Yeah, it's because Saudi Arabia is running out, stupid.
Any country in the world. It's a big asset for the United States, but we haven't used it. We go to Venezuela, we go to other places to take...
No, we don't.
...oil and gas, and we have...
No, we don't.
More than anybody. It's an amazing phenomenon that took place over the last 4 years. Nobody understands.
No, it didn't. Oil production in the United States went up. It's almost at max capacity. You're going to have to force the oil companies to produce more here, stupid.
Including the people that were in charge of it. They had no clue what they were doing. So it was a big problem. They were surprised, actually, too. They were saying, why didn't they wouldn't sell them LNG. They wouldn't sell it. Japan wanted to buy LNG, and Biden wouldn't sell it. And I'm trying to figure that one out.
How about this? How about Biden doesn't sell LNG? Maybe they were prioritizing it to Europe to transition them away from Russia at the time, so they had a limited amount of it in the beginning, and then they transitioned away?
Maybe it was the environment. You might answer that question. He's curious about that himself, I think. Thank you.
Apparently not.
Thank you very much. If you want to answer that, you may, about LNG, that the United States wouldn't sell you LNG.
That was a really unfortunate thing, but the current administration, the previous administration was not allowing the LNG to be exported to us. I believe that President Trump, on the day of his inauguration, allowed us to resume this importing. I think this is something that is really wonderful for us. And as the country of Japan, we are interested in importing not just LNG, but also bioethanol, ammonia, and other resources at a stable price, a reasonable price from the United States. And we also want to
Great.
improve the trade deficit that the U.S. has towards Japan. So if we are able to buy those at a stable and reasonable price.
Then we don't have to take your cars. We'll take the stuff we need, and then the stuff you make. Hey, asshole, do you think Trump realizes that selling oil and gas is how you get people around the trade deficit? Make it more proportional. They can say they made progress on it when they're just buying shit that you're pulling out of the ground. It's not stuff that's being manufactured in the United States or made here.
I think it would be a wonderful situation. And for that, I am very appreciative to President Trump. And we also look forward to LNG and hope that it's a success.
I want to just say that on the ethanol, Iowa is going to be very happy. All of the Nebraska, all of our farm states are going to be very happy. They want ethanol, and we'll be able to provide it to our farmers, who I like, and they like me.
Because I pay them off.
I think they're going to be very, very happy. We've opened
I'm the Xi Jinping of farmers.
the sale of LNG immediately. Actually, we did it a few days ago, and China right now, not only China, everybody wants to buy it. We have more than anybody, and they're all buying it. But Japan, in particular, we're very happy that they're going to start immediately, and we can supply it to the world. But we're supplying it to Japan, and they're going to always be right up in the front of the line. Yeah, go ahead, please. Go ahead.
Mr. Prime Minister, I have a question for you as well, but Mr. President, I'll start with you. Well, quickly to follow up on what Peter was asking, have you directed Elon Musk to review Pentagon spending, given it's the biggest discretionary spending
Yes,
in
I
the
have
federal
Pentagon, education, just about everything. We're going to go through everything, just as it was so bad with what we just went through with this horrible situation we just went through, and I guess
What do you mean? Your last trip to the bathroom?
97% of the people have been dismissed. It was very, very unfortunate. You're not going to find anything like that, but you're going to find a lot. And
No.
I've instructed him to go check out education, to check out the Pentagon, which is the military, and
Is it? Is it though? Somebody look that up. Is the Pentagon the military, or is the military the Pentagon? I always get those mixed up.
You'll find some things that are pretty bad, but I don't think proportionally you're going to see anything like we just saw.
FBI has turned over a list to the Justice Department of the FBI agents who worked on the January 6 rioters cases. Are you planning to fire the FBI agents who worked on those investigations?
No, but I'll fire some of them because some of them were corrupt. I have no doubt about that.
Based on what?
I got to know a lot about that business, that world. I got
That world? I'm sorry, the world of a rioter that takes a shit in the rotunda?
to know.
I mean, look, to be completely fair, he has a lot of parallels between himself and the Jan 6 rioters. I mean, you guys saw his speech at the prayer breakfast. I would argue that was the verbal equivalent of taking a shit in the rotunda. You know, he basically dropped a deuce by another
A
name.
lot about that world, that we had some corrupt agents, and those people are gone, or they will be gone, and it'll be done quickly and very surgically.
Surgically, yeah. That's why you're asking, hundreds of people to step down or leave their posts and that kind of stuff very surgically. This is, by the way, notice that the use of that word isn't an accident, because he's getting a bunch of pushback from Republicans about kind of the slapdash nature of how Musk is handling this shit. I'm sorry.
Do you have a question for the Prime Minister?
No, not really.
Talk up.
Talk up? You mean speak up?
I don't know. I know that we have some that are very corrupt and we don't like it. We're going to bring back the reputation of the FBI. Kash Patel is going to do a great job, and we're going to bring back the reputation.
I don't know. Didn't they punt his vote?
Of the FBI, which has been hurt very badly. It's been devastated over the last 4 years.
Yeah, by you discrediting them, not because of their actions.
You have just been meeting for the first time with President Trump. The last administration famously did not have hardly any, if at all, contact with North Korea. President Trump certainly did the last time he was in office. Would you like to see him resume that contact and also that in-person meeting that he had with the North Korean leader, Kim Jong-un?
Not really.
That's
touchy.
something that the United States needs to determine on its own,
Yeah, that's a no.
and it's not
Sorry.
something that we should request. Having said that, but for example, in Vietnam or Singapore, the President of the United States, President Trump, was able to meet with Kim Jong-un. I think that's a very positive development. So now that President Trump is in power again, if we are able to move towards resolving issues with the North Korea, I think it would be a great. And of course, for us, that includes.
Yeah, if that's what would result with the talks, like that's the issue you have, is that does not mean it's going to help. Like just because he meets with him again doesn't, I mean, it didn't work last time.
It's not only denuclearization, but also resolving the abductee issue. And so not only the victims of the abductees, but also their families too are aging. And so our time is limited. So if the President of the United States, if President Trump is able to resolve this issue, we do understand that it's a Japan issue first and foremost. Having said that, we would love to continue to cooperate with them.
It's actually a good question, and we will have relations with North Korea, with Kim Jong-un. I got along with him very well.
Really? Who's on top? He is.
As you know, I think I stopped the war. I think if I wouldn't have won that particular election, you would have ended up in a very bad situation. But I did, and we had a good relationship, and I think it's a very big asset for everybody that I do get along with him. I get along with him, he gets along with me, and that's a good thing, not a bad thing. And I can tell you that Japan.
And by the way, this is muscle memory from his last his last administration. The shit that Kim Jong-un has said since, and he never stopped making missiles, so it was all a wash.
Likes the idea.
But the stuff that Kim Jong-un said during, over the last 4 years about him, like, he's like, yeah, it's a bunch of bullshit.
Their relationship is not very good with him. And if I can have a relationship with not only him, but other people throughout the world where there seem to be difficulties, I think that's a tremendous.
Seem to be? Does it seem to be difficulties with North Korea? I don't know.
Tremendous asset for.
Seem to be. All right.
For the world, not just the United States. Go ahead.
I have a question for you and for the Prime Minister as well. Mr. President, I wonder what you make of the criticism from Democrats that these staff reductions, the cuts that Elon Musk and Doge are doing are an unlawful power grab. And is there anything you've told Elon Musk he cannot touch?
Well, we haven't discussed that much.
Yeah, I don't even know what stuff exists.
Tell him to go here, go there. He does it. He's got a very capable group of people. Very capable. They know what they're doing.
I don't know. It sounds like old guy doesn't understand tech talk, and they can just fucking like smooth, like, I don't know if it's schmoozing. They can BS you with a lot of techno jargon.
Ask questions, and they'll see immediately as somebody gets tongue-tied that they're either crooked or don't know what they're doing.
Or they're not used to explaining to people who are that fucking stupid on their doorstep.
We have very smart people going in, so I've instructed him go into education, go into military, go into other things as we go along. And they're finding massive amounts of fraud, abuse.
No, they're not. Sorry, man. In a $7 trillion budget, finding a couple $100 million worth of stuff, less than a couple billion, isn't going to do shit. It's not massive at all. It's massive to me and people who own a house and shit like that, but it's not massive in terms of the budget. It just points to the fact that this was all a lie. that a lot of these problems are going to magically go away because they didn't exist in the first place.
Waste, all of these things. So, but I will pick out a target and I say go in. There could be areas that we won't, but I think everything's fertile. You know, we're a government. We have to be open. And as an open government, I don't know, I guess you could say maybe some high intelligence or something.
Maybe. Probably not. Yeah, maybe. Well, no. It's a high intelligence.
And I'll do that myself if I have to. But
oh, great. If I get Trump with a fucking visor on and an old-fashioned hack, 7,000, transgender monkey, Pentagon secret budget, hack,
generally speaking, I'll just say go. But he will be looking at education pretty quickly, and he will be looking at military too.
As you know, the bulk of federal spending is Social Security, Medicare, programs like that. Would you like to see him look at those programs as well?
Well, they don't really have to be looked at by him. They can be looked at by us. Social Security will not be touched. It'll only be strengthened. We have illegal immigrants on Social Security, and we're going to find out who they are and take them out.
No, you don't. Illegal immigrants pay into it and don't get anything back, stupid.
We have illegal immigrants in other Medicare. We've found a lot of bad people, a lot of people that shouldn't be on, that were put on.
No, you haven't. No, you haven't. First of all, he hasn't looked yet. You haven't looked yet. You're making it up. No, you haven't.
Through California, a lot of them come out of California. We're not going to stand for that. So we're going to strengthen our.
Yeah, they're called Californians. They're U.S. citizens.
Social Security, et cetera. We're not going to touch it other than to make it stronger. But we have people that shouldn't be on, and those.
How would you, real quick, that's a great question. Thank you. How are you going to make it stronger? What would you do to make it stronger? Obviously, there's no, evidence that illegal immigrants are taking money out of Social Security, just that they're putting it in and not being able to receive it. Because if they're operating under a fake Social Security number or something like that, they're not getting those funds, and certainly not on a scale that would change tip the balance of a $7 trillion budget or a $2 trillion deficit. We're talking at best a few $1 million over the entire, three-quarters of the federal budget. So how would you make it stronger? Anybody? Oh, yeah. Well, Doug, you're actually giving real reasons. Doug's lift the income cap. Yeah. You think he's going to do that? No.
People we have to weed out. Most of them, or many of them so far, have been illegal immigrants. They shouldn't even be in the country. Do you have
No, they haven't.
A question for the Prime Minister?
Yes, ask him about what it's like to be in a racially homogenous country and they don't have this issue with immigration because no one expects them to take anybody in because they're only one race that can be citizens in that. Okay, too much?
Mr. Prime Minister, the president's affinity for tariffs is well known. All
right, blah, 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 blah. Hold on.
Very good answer. Wow. That's a very good answer. Very good answer. Wow. That's very good. He knows what he's doing.
Hold on. Let's see what he said.
If the U.S. places tariffs on Japanese imports, would Japan retaliate?
I am unable to respond to a theoretical question. That's the official answer that we have.
That's a very good answer. Very good answer. Wow. That's very good. He knows what he's doing. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
Oh, God.
Thank you.
Lumber, lumber, lumber. Well, look, I kept you late. It's Friday. I can do that sometimes. But I wanted you, we showed you a few things. Instead of going to the sort of right-wing media around stuff, because quite frankly, most of them are boring as fuck right now. We go to the actual legislative stuff that's happening right now. And if you'll notice, a big bunch of it is busy work, where they're talking themselves into a fucking fit, but not actually doing anything. The big point of concern, obviously, is Musk and his minions running around, the Doge bags, running around and possibly getting access to things that are unsecure because of their presence. And again, all of that is illegal. They are, if they have not been sworn in or they have not earned that clearance, there will be legal ramifications later, no matter what Trump does. He could pardon them after the fact, but that doesn't stop them from going through the process. Now, whether or not, again, whether it's the state of California or the state of New York or any of the other big pay-ins suing on behalf of their constituents for, violations of privacy and that kind of stuff on an individual level, that might have more impact than trying to get Trump's DOJ to throw these assholes in jail. It might just be best to, FOIA and then follow that up with, if they're not going to tell us, we're going to sue because we're going to assume you guys have gotten access to the private data of Californians or New York citizens, and we're going to, you're either going to fess up, and if you don't, we're going to actually sue you as an individual, a member of the DOJ committee, because they're not actually a department. They're not actually federal employees. So much love to you guys. See you later. See you in the morning for radio, Hal Sparks radio program, Megaworldwide, tomorrow at 9 a.m. Pacific time. And I'll see you then. And I got work to do. I got so much work to do. It never ends. Thank God. All right. Oh, and I always have to, I gotta add one of these titles to the thing. And maybe if I found a way that I could rotate it, that'd be cool. All right, love you guys. Hit that like, share the show.